Hello travelers, today we're taking a look at the Samyang 75mm 1.8 full frame lens for the Sony E-mount system. Now I will be filming most of the review with this lens, except where I will be showing the lens itself, and I'll put a little note in the corner which lens I'm using. Now Samyang did send me this lens for review, but my thoughts and opinions are entirely my own.
In the box you get the lens and a very nice little hard case to store the lens in. And you also get a lens hood. And yes, the lens with the lens hood attached does fit in the case, as you can see here. Taking a look at the lens itself, it's very compact and lightweight for a 75mm portrait lens. It has a function switch on the side and a ring on the front that's function can be changed depending on the settings, and I'll talk a bit more about that later. It weighs only 230 grams or 8 ounces and is smaller and lighter than both the Sony 85mm 1.8 and the new Sigma 65mm f2, as you can see in this comparison image here.
Now I should mention this lens doesn't have any weather sealing, and there's no rubber gasket around the back of the lens either. So do keep that in mind if you are someone who shoots outdoors regularly. There's no dust or water resistance guarantee on this lens. However, Samyang does have a new 35mm 1.8 that does have full weather sealing, so I do hope that if they make a Mark II version of this lens, that they'll include weather sealing in it.
Now this lens does make a very good match with the new compact Sony a7C full frame mirrorless camera, which I have here. Paired together they balance very nicely and only have a total combined weight of 735 grams or 1.6 pounds. It also fits very nicely into my Temba BYOB 7 camera bag, which I previously reviewed, with room to fit also the Samyang 18mm 2.8 ultra wide lens as well. So for me, having an ultra wide lens and a portrait lens together make this a great lightweight and portable setup. Of course, you might also want to add a 35mm or a 50mm equivalent if you do like those focal lengths. As I mentioned, Samyang do have a great new 35mm 1.8, and they also have a 45mm 1.8 you can also consider. Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to try the Sony 85mm to compare it with, nor the Sigma 65mm. But what I can say from watching others' comparison reviews online, this 75mm is slightly sharper than the Sony. However, the Sony lens does have slightly faster autofocus. In my testing, I never actually had any problems with the autofocus, especially in the photo modes. There was occasionally times where I needed to compose my video shots in a way that worked better with the autofocus.
For example, in a brightly backlit scene like this one here, the autofocus can hunt a little bit, and it has a little bit of trouble locking onto your face, even with the face and eye detect on. And if you move around, in my experience with some of the other previous videos that I've tried to make, I did notice a little bit of hunting back and forth if you didn't use a key light to fill the face in a backlit shot like this one. Adding a key light like this enables the eye detector to detect your eye with the camera, and then the autofocus should be a lot better and a lot smoother.
In photo mode, the autofocus is fast and only just slightly slower than a Sony native lens.
As I mentioned earlier, this lens has a mode switch on the side, and when you get out of the box in the default settings, the mode 1 does nothing because it's in autofocus mode, and then switching into mode 2 allows you to change the aperture with the mode ring. You can of course change these settings if you want to, but you will need to use the Samyang lens station, which is a separate purchase unfortunately.
Speaking of photos, I'll just show you a couple of the photos that I've taken with this lens so far, and I've been very impressed with the sharpness, and the colors and contrast are all very pleasing. Most of the shots here I used the aperture priority and shot in f1.8 wide open, but some were stopped down. Check the bottom of the screen for the f-stop numbers. The lens is very affordable at $399 US on the US Amazon store at the moment. Links of course are in the description below if you'd like to check it out. And it's roughly $492 Australian dollars on the Australian Amazon store. The lens station, which I mentioned earlier, is an additional $59 US, depending where you get it from. The lens station can also be used to update the firmware of the lens, and you can sometimes find the lens with the lens station in a bundle. I actually bought it separately with my own money from a recent sale.
All in all, I think this is a fantastic lens for the size, weight, and the price, and I think it makes a really great match for smaller mirrorless camera bodies like the Sony a7C that I'm filming with right now. And because it's so small and lightweight, it can fit into any camera bag, and it would make a really great lens for travel. And I highly recommend checking out if you're in the market for a versatile portrait lens for your camera. Please leave a comment below what you thought about the quality of this lens in the video.
and be sure to stay subscribed to keep up to date with future videos.